But let's stay with legal matters because convicted murderer Enoch Ndou will be sentenced today in the Thohoyandou High Court. That's in Limpopo. Ndou was found guilty of shooting and killing 7 of his family members on Christmas Day in 2021. That shooting followed a family dispute over the ownership of his late father's home. SABC News reporter Pimani Baloyi is watching the story and joins us now from a relatively empty court, Pimani. Perhaps it's a good time to take a few steps back. Help us understand how Ndou was essentially linked to these killings.
Good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to our viewers. Indeed, Ayanda, we're coming from a virtually empty courtroom where at around 10 p.m. we expect Judge Thogomelani Chidada to hand down that sentence after Ndou was convicted. About a few weeks ago, he was convicted for those 7 counts of murders. But just to go a little bit back to remind our viewers who Ndou is and how he was eventually linked to the 7 murders. Ndou, what we understand, Mr. Enoch Ndou is a qualified ICU nurse who worked at a hospital in the Northwest. And that December in 2021, he traveled back home to have his usual December holidays alongside his relatives, who include his late brother's son and his entire family, alongside other family members. And when Mr. Ndou got home, he found that Mr. Ndou, who stayed in that family homestead with his family, were there and they were preparing for the festivities. What we gather and what was said in this courtroom is that Mr. Enoch Ndou wanted Ndou and his family to move out of that homestead, saying that it was his father's home and he wanted to refurbish it and build more houses in that homestead. And there was a dispute following that. In the evening, we are told Mr. Ndou took out his licensed firearm. We understand Mr. Ndou was licensed. This was his firearm that he owned, and he went on that shooting spree, killing everyone, leaving out one 9-year-old child who was sleeping alongside the other 4 children who were killed in this shooting, Ayanda. It's been a long time with family members coming to this court proceedings. We know that during the course of the proceedings, Mr. Ndou's main defense was that he wasn't, number one, mentally fit to be held criminally liable for the shootings, and that, number 2, he wasn't mentally fit to stand trial. We do know that both those applications were set aside by Judge Chidada just before this trial started. And the reasons Mr. Ndou gave for that argument that he wasn't mentally fit, he says he was diagnosed with schizophrenia earlier in life, but the judge said that that was not sufficient to say he should not be held criminally liable, and the judge ruled that Mr. Ndou was able to follow these court proceedings and he could be held criminally liable. We do know that during the duration of this trial, Mr. Ndou had various breakdowns where he would just scream in court. Other times he would hit himself and he would even cry out. Even during the judgment, we did see similar incidences. So today we expect the conclusion of all of this, where Judge Chidada will be handing down sentences regarding to all 7 murder charges that he's been found guilty on. We know that during the trial, Mr. Ndou is the only person who testified in his defense. He did not call any other witnesses, and he has denied being the one who shot and killed his brother's children and their children, stating that they actually were always teasing him, calling him a madman, and that they always broke into the side of his house and stole his properties, stating that he had gone to the police several times to report them and nothing was done. And Ayanda, back to your question on how he was eventually arrested and linked to the crimes. What actually happened on that evening is that after the shootings, Mr. Ndou drove himself to the Thohoyandou police station, and when he got there, police say as he was detailing what had happened, talking about how Ndou has stolen his property and how he had attempted to break into his house, They called police officers at a nearby police station in Malamlele, who informed them that that man was actually somebody that they were looking for a shooting that had happened in Saselamani. And from that moment, he was linked to these crimes. He's always maintained his innocence throughout. We don't know what will happen now because he's been found guilty and he will be sentenced, and we will find out what those sentences are. We do know for the 7 charges of murder that has been convicted, there is a prescribed minimum sentence. We'll find out if the judge will stick to that prescription or if he will go slightly higher. We'll also find out if for all these counts, they will be put to run concurrently or if each one will run separately. These are some of the things that we expect Judge Thogomelani Chidada will tell this court in front of the Ndou family at around 10 a.m. Ayanda.
Sure, really troubling details explained so well as always. Pimani Baloyi live to us there from the Thohoyandou High Court in Limpopo.